trebuh na drvo.
Dodaj, imaš to.
Okay. Hi, welcome to the third live stream session. Thanks to everyone who came here in person. You had the task the previous week, which you had to complete by like 16 minutes ago, right? Okay, so I hope you all did that. We'll continue today and try to develop the product further on. And there's not much time left until the end of the semester, so everyone who has just started working, hopefully you'll catch up with us. Otherwise, please make sure to also book individual Q&A sessions or consultations. Our link is published on Učilnica, so just pick any 3 time slot and give us a call. Today we'll continue with the development, and we will slowly, gradually come to the point where we need to have the prototype being developed, or actually in any kind of form. So make sure you make the best of it this week, because after the next week there will be holidays, and after the holidays there will be end of the semester quite soon. I will regularly check for any kind of questions on Discord and YouTube channels. So if you have any questions and you are remotely watching us, please let us know over these 2 channels. Amedea, take us away.
Okay, hi from my side. Also, as Mateusz said, you did the interviews and you researched the field in the first week. This week you were supposed to do an idea, develop the concept. You have a prototype by now. So today we will actually have a super short lecture, because the only thing that's remaining is talking about validation, and this is something that it's very connected to how we do interviews, so some things might ring a bell. So why we do validation? We do validation to lessen the risk. This is something that we already talked about. The more we can learn on the process, the more we can be sure that something has users, has a market, has people who actually want to buy our stuff, have people who will use our stuff, people who will think that what we brought them is valuable, solves their problems. The likelier the scenario of some success, of successful launches and things. Of course, there's another rocket science part on how to do the marketing of all these things, but this is not a topic of our hangouts. Okay, so when we're talking about testing, there's some misconceptions. We have 2 different types of testing. We have concept validation, which you'll be doing now, and we have usability testings. So we already spoke about this when we were looking at different methods, research methods. So with concept validation is a more of a qualitative technique, because we have a concept, we have something that hasn't been fully built, that hasn't been fully developed in terms of it doesn't have all the screens, it doesn't have all the flows, it's not a full product, but we're checking if we're going in the right direction. That's something that we're doing here. Are we solving a problem? So we're trying to give people something to actually use, to have in their hand, to pretend. We talked about this with the prototyping. So they can have a feel how it is to use all of these things that we're going to build. And it's usually messy, because we try to validate the concept as soon as possible. what I just said. So it's not completely built. It doesn't have all the right buttons. It can be wireframes, it can be low fidelity prototypes, it can be paper prototypes. So why are we doing this is just checking in at each stage how good are our assumptions again. So it's research and learning from this. We're looking for new insights. So with concept validation, one of the things that is important, it's half testing and half interviews. Why the interviews? Because we're still at the stage where we're learning about the problem space, and where we still can find out new things. We can still find out new user groups. We can still find, important information. And concept testing is important for us to get even more knowledge about the topic on which we are building things. And there's always an opportunity to ask more questions. That's why it's really important that we do concept validation in person, because we learn. So the other type of testing is usability testing, which is much more precise, meaning this usually comes up at later stages where we're already checking, is our solution accessible? Is it legible? Does the text make sense? Can somebody come from point A to B without any kind of help? And for these types of testing, also using any kind of research platforms or we don't necessarily have to do them in person. We can use a platform where they do these automated tests, not automated tests in terms of code, but sending out to potential user group for them to test, and you get, so they're not moderated by a person. That's what I mean. With usability testing, we're checking how well is the solution working. So it's already at a different stage. With concept, we're checking, are we going in the right direction? Are we thinking about this in the right way? Does our idea make sense even? Do people understand it? And with usability testing is, can they actually perform the action that they need to in the app? And it's really precise, so we need high fidelity prototypes or sometimes production, and we basically assess what is already there. So that's kind of the main difference between the two. So this is the UX honeycomb. It was created by Peter Morville, who was at the time a UX something designer at Google, and he developed this honeycomb that gives kind of a mental model of what is everything that goes into the user experience. So we have the thinking for users, so we need to perceive this as credible. We need to perceive it, so the potential users, we need to perceive it as useful, meaning we can actually use it, we can perform something with it, we can get something done, and we need to find it valuable. Valuable means solving a problem, provides value to my life, is not just a distraction or something that frustrates us. Then we have the feeling. Again, we feel that it's credible. This is something that's really important, especially nowadays where there are so many scams and so many things out there. How can we make sure that our products feel safe to use, they are credible, they are secure. This is something that will be more and more important as we go, especially since everything will be built by AI. And another part is the desirability. Do I want to use this? And here it doesn't mean that all apps in the world need to be super sexy with super nice design and amazing animations and things. It just means, can I use it as well as possible? Can I get things done in a certain manner and not get super stressed about it? Extra points, it doesn't look like Windows 95. Although that was at least XP. Okay, and then we have the use. So it's findable, means I can actually know, I find out that this solution exists, and how do I find out? It's usable and it's accessible. So this upper part we test with concept validation. So how do people perceive what we are building? And the lower part, so the use, is what we test in usability testings. So it's more precise, it's more direct, and concept validation is more about the feels and like this fuzzy data. There was this, in one of the first PDF slide packs, were some links about research and stuff. I don't know if anybody checked those, but there's a video, there's a talk. I don't know what's her name, but she was a researcher at Nokia a little bit before, so a little bit after the smartphones came out. And of course, the smartphones were really expensive and everything. And Nokia had this this assumption that because they are so expensive, most people won't want them. And she went and she did this amazing research, talking to people all over the world. She had all this like fuzzy data, quotes from people, how they experience things, what is the want of the smartphones and everything. And she actually proved with qualitative data that smartphones are a thing and it's gonna be the next big thing. But since it wasn't analytics, they dismissed her data, and we all know where Nokia is right now. Might come back at some point, because I think we're turning into the other part where we're getting rid of smartphones and feeling shitty about them, but okay, so this is me.
Give it a second.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay.
Also, let's see, last time, the market is always
Oh, prosti. Okay. So why do we validate? You remember the slide, it's the same as in research, because you, your boss, your client is not the actual user. We're trying to learn, we're trying to expand our horizons still. And again, when do we validate? When we want to learn. So we want to learn, we're learning all the way with building the product, because new insight, new things, the world changes, everything comes up. We do have to iterate, but especially we validate in the beginning so we know what to build. Because designing and developing, it's expensive. It's really expensive. So we're trying to save time, lessen the risk, make things more real. Okay, so now you have your prototypes ready. Hopefully there are a few flows in there that you have already built. I don't know. This might be registration or onboarding, or I don't know, if you're building something to help people get jobs, students get jobs, or prepare for getting jobs, you might have an option to upload the CV and analyze the CV, things like that. So these are all flows. What we're trying to do here is, for the concept validation, we need to have the main features ready. Not 10 features, because you don't want 10 main features, but at least 3. At least 3 to 5. And before validation, we prepare in a very similar way to how we did for the interviews. So the first thing we do, we prepare guidelines. Again, a good thing is to actually write down what are all the answers that we need to know. What are the things that we don't yet know fully? What are the things that we assume are true and that we need to prove? So it's a good approach to try to prove yourself wrong. So what do we want to know? What are you not sure about? Are you not sure about of the feature working? Are you not sure about one feature being needed? Write all of these things down so it will be easier to actually devise a test later on. The guidelines must be very specific. So the guidelines have a structure. It's a list of tasks that a user needs to do while they're in the app. How does this usually look like? It's, for example, if we were testing the concept of Volt, we would say, okay, first thing you need to do is log in or register. And we let them do this. Second thing you need to do is you need to order a bunch of groceries from Volt Market. And you let them do the scenario on their own, watch how they would do it. So that's why we need to understand first we need to decide what we are actually testing. We want to find users, real users. When we're testing or when we're looking for like the best UX pattern, what will we use in terms of, oh, is this going to be a form in this way, or we're going to use, I don't know, text, or we're going to use icons or things like that. We can do this with random people because we're trying to just see how they understand the screen. But for this part, we need real users because they will give us the context. This is especially important when we're building things like, I don't know, in healthcare. If I test a device that will be used in healthcare with somebody who works as a clerk in a store, will it give me anything? Not really. So this is something that what we're trying not to do. We're trying to test with people who actually have this problem, this use case, that they fit the context which we are building for. And then we're creating a prototype that fits the guidelines. So before, or for those who have built their prototype in Figma, that actually means having all the flows ready, faking the interactions, meaning I click the input field, it is filled out. Having all the screens ready that will be part of the testing, or all the things that user needs to see to actually perform the task. And of course, some will be missing because we skipped something, because we some things we miss. And for those who are building with AI already, who have prototypes with AI, still click through it, make sure that everything is the way you have envisioned. Okay, so we have prepared, we have the guidelines, we have the prototype that fits the guidelines, we have tested the script. So this is something, again, that we talked about with interviews. Always test the script because you don't know what will break, and you don't want to waste those opportunities where you have real users there to figure out that your prototype breaks after 2 screens. We prepare everything that we need for testing. Of course, how the testing goes. First, we introduce ourselves. We tell them why we are doing the testing, who we are, and it's really important to set this expectation of telling them that we are not testing them, that we are testing what we have built. Because people are very inclined to give you what you want, but when you give them the platform to actually say what they mean and allow them to express everything they want, you get a lot more feedback. And because it's testing, people think, oh, I don't want to look stupid. I won't know how to use this. So this is one of the most important sentences you can put into your testing guidelines. And then we put the user in the context of where they would likely be using the app. So if I return to an example, you're building for students to get ready for the employment process, looking for a job, you have to tell them, okay, imagine that, I don't know, you have just finished your bachelor thesis or something. So, or you're just on the brink of finishing your bachelor thesis. You will have to start applying for the job. You find this platform. You're at home, you're wondering how, you're afraid that something. So give them the context where this is going on. So for example, in healthcare, we would say, okay, so imagine that you have a patient next to you. So you can actually create a scenario in their head where they can put themselves into their own shoes, per se, but in the specific scenario. And then you give them instructions for the test. We ask them to share their thoughts out loud because we cannot read minds, and the more they talk, the more we understand, okay, what is going on, what are they not seeing, where are they getting stuck, and things. Here, be mindful, we're not trying to tell them what they need to do. We give them a task that they need to accomplish on their own, just like we weren't there. So they have to do this on their own, because in real time, when they will be using the app, we won't be there to explain things to them. So it's not about click this button, and then click this button, and then click this button, and then write this data, and then what do you think about this flow? But it's finish this. Order the food from Volt Market. Or get yourself a pizza for tomorrow at 8 p.m. What are you testing here? You're testing if they can, how they think about, would they first find, would they go through search? Would they use filters? Would they find a pizzeria? Would they be able to choose it? Will they know how to schedule it? So all of these things you're checking with one task. Are there any questions around this? Makes sense. Okay, so this is it in terms of lecture. There's okay. There's some more instructions in the FigJam, which I hope will open, and then I need to unlock it. But if this doesn't work, I'll just do it later. So, the plan, what you need to do. You have a prototype that kind of works. You have an idea that you already started building. Now you have to check if this idea makes sense to anybody else besides your team. Create guidelines, write them down. What will be the tasks that you will test, that your users will have to perform during the validation? That's number one. Second, find real users and actually do the validation with. So what we're trying to do, or what we do during validation, is the same as in interviews. So it's good to have at least two people there. One that does the test, that leads the test, and second one that does notes and looks at the person, because again, we're looking at also the body language, the things that people are not saying, the confusions that pop up in the face and things like that. We record the validation so we can actually go through them again and see the things that we have missed, because confirmation bias, again, we already talked about this. Not every test will be successful in terms of that it will be useful for you. You can look for what makes sense for your product. Maybe some user is not a good fit for your end product, that's fine. But look for the insights that kind of give you more information about the problem, more information, what should your app include, more information about what should be improved, things like that. But you don't have to take everything that you will get in the user tests into the app, because not every feedback is valid and not every feedback needs to be accounted for. So a bit of critical thought on this. Each group needs to do 3 to 5 testings so you can make sure that you're getting different feedback and such. And this is something that you have to do until next week. next week, Monday 22nd, we meet here for in-person consultations. Next week, there won't be any online consultations. Whoever wants to do online, this Wednesday, there's lots of space. So, next Monday is my birthday, so make my day and don't make me drive all the way from Maribor to here just for Mateusz, although that's nice, but still. So come in, let's look at this stuff, get some feedback, because then the next phase will be polishing all these products. By polishing means getting the insights, building the app, making it better, doing the branding, all kinds of things. Because we said that you can use all the AI in the world and you are supposed to use it, we do expect very high level of products. So think about this. And from the things that I saw, I didn't see many groups, but the ones that I did saw, you're on good direction. So yeah, let's do this. And then we have some vacation and we do consultations online the first week of January. So from the 5th to the 10th, there are consultations on the 5th, on the 7th, online, and then on the 12th and 15th, you are already doing the presentations. After New Year's, we'll also post what you will need to present and how the presentations should look like, so you can get ready for this. And in the meantime, we're here for any kind of questions. So yeah.
And for those who are here, we can go through
Yeah.
your individual projects now, if you want to, or if you have any questions or want to address any issues that you've had for last week.
Yes. So bye to everyone on stream.
Okay, so thanks for everybody who were watching us live. We'll see you guys next week, and for the rest of people who are here in person, we'll just continue with an offline session checking out your work.